idea was this?
Hello everyone, my name is J-Bob, and welcome back to part 2 of the Arthur Trilogy, Arthur and the Revenge of Malthazard, or Arthur and the Great Adventure. So hopefully this one is actually for kids. I mean, the first one mostly was, but I have my reasons, and check last episode if you have questions.
Well, how did it go? Oh, Arthur, I am so proud of you.
For the most part, they kept the same cast from the original movie. The African tribe, the Bogo Mata Salai, actually were hiding in the forest, so I'm not sure how Davido missed them from the first movie, but it's nice that they finally pointed that out. The tents look like they're pretty sturdy, so I'm not sure how they missed that. Not exactly camouflaged.
What's with the...
It's my disguise.
I can see your face.
Not when I do this, you're gone.
Arthur only has one drink from Max's bar instead of a few, I guess. Arthur ends up saving Selenia from Malthazard, even though he said he wasn't planning on taking her with him. So, there's that.
I had this terrible nightmare. I dreamt that Arthur was being chased by these giant insects. Archie?
Oh boy, oh boy. I'm not sure if I have time for all of these, but let's give it a shot.
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
As I mentioned before, most of the cast stayed the same, but there were changes. Lou Reed replaces David Bowie as Malthazard. Selena Gomez replaces Madonna as Selenia. Robert Stanton replaced Doug Rand as Arthur's father. What was his name again? Armand? Okay. Arthur gets a single-word message on a grain of rice reading help, delivered by a spider, and immediately assumes the Minimoys are in grave danger. Upon his arrival, everyone he talks to has no clue what he's talking about and dismisses it, but Arthur is sure something is wrong and he must get to the bottom of it all. Eventually, after having it explained by both his grandfather before he goes back to the land of the Minimoys, and later the king and Betamash, that the Minimoys only communicate via messages with leaves, but distress signals use pine needles. And no one questions why the word help was sprawled on a grain of rice until Malthazard shows up and admits that it was him. Then everyone has a collective aha moment, bemoaning why they didn't think of that sooner.
Bravo! How perceptive of you. If I had a hand free, I'd give you a round of applause.
Really? This whole thing could have been solved if Arthur thought to ask, hey, does anyone in the Seven Kingdoms use rice to communicate messages? I guess his mind was elsewhere.
My fellow Americans, I think we all know where this is going, so let's just skip to the end.
Speaking of questions that no one asked, the book has one title and the movie has another one. Great Adventure versus Revenge of Malthazard. Do either really fit this movie? If we go with the book title, how did Malthazard exact revenge here? He had more screen time and overall presence in this movie compared to the first, but aside from kidnapping Selenia briefly and accomplishing his goal of reaching the human world, what did he do? I guess it's setting up the fact that he's going to get his revenge now that he's reached the human world, because Arthur drowned his son and his army, and now he's avenging them? Maybe? But the Great Adventure makes less sense, unless you account for Arthur getting constricted by the Bogo tribe with the corded ropes or vine method in order to squeeze all the water out of his body so he can get glooped down a hole into Max's bar, and a decently long chase scene, and nearly getting eaten by birds and some rats. Some of that may have been tense, but not really an adventure, in my book at least.
Well, that's quite enough excitement for one day.
Much like the first movie, it's spent with a lot of exposition and traveling from one end of the property to the other. So, if you count that as adventure, then cool. Selenia had significantly fewer lines, which, okay, not really a bad thing, but her fierce, talk big, and generally carefree attitude is replaced with that of a teenage girl, struck with the odd infatuation with Arthur, which the first movie reduced to a strange hot and cold attitude for most of the film. Her first kiss with Arthur was solely for establishing him as the new king, should her fight with Maltazard go poorly. All she did was cut off his fingertip and got captured anyways.
Selenia?
The second kiss happened right before Arthur got sent back so he could divert the flood and destroy Maltazard's army and save the Minimoys. The second kiss makes more sense. Saving her entire village from utter destruction is a pretty good motivator for loving someone. However, as much as I still detest that romantic relationship that was established, what else is there to that relationship? They know nearly nothing about each other. Arthur's interest in her consisted of seeing a picture in his grandfather's book, stealing her lace to sneak a peek, and, to save their lives, and getting berated by her off and on until he helped her get back to her village. After Arthur made it back with his grandpa, they spent no time with each other because they had to wait 10 moons for him to return. I guess Selenia could have pulled a Twilight and just watched him from a distance until he was able to return. And if she could do that, couldn't she have let him know that she wanted to spend more time with him to get to know him, and he could get to know her better too? If that happens in the book, comment. Let me know. I'm genuinely curious about this. Going back to that point of Selenia acting like a teenager, though, I suppose you can argue that this gives her a little bit more complexity as a character, showing another side of her, but the way the movie portrays it, it feels shallow, like a teenage crush. Again, that might be explained better in the book, so one of these days I'll try to find a translation of it, whether it's official or fan translated, but I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
Fire department, please. Oh! Jeez, you scared me. You're scared. Have you looked in the mirror lately?
The movie begins with Arthur passing through an initiation to his induction into the tribe, having passed 3 tests. The tree test, where he became one with the tree. The mineral test, where he put on body paint to blend in with the rocks so he could avoid a coyote almost peeing on him. Nope, it totally did. To hear the rocks and to be accepted by the planet. Reconnecting with the animal kingdom, where he ate grass and slept in a cave with a bear.
Oh.
All of this was supposed to give him vital skills, according to the BOGO chief.
A lie! They give me no eagle powers!
Serious question, though. Did this serve any sort of practical purpose in the movie? Or was it largely ceremonial so he could just join the BOGO tribe? Or did it actually give him some Disney princess-like power so he could communicate with nature? I suppose the latter, since he spends his time allowing ants into the house to give them train rides. Aside from freeing a bee from his father, who has an odd vendetta against them, originally excused because Arthur is deathly allergic to them, but then exaggerated by him getting stung in the butt and wanting to destroy their hive, that covers his communication with nature. He's like a disappointing version of Ant-Man.
I'm not crying, you're crying.
Okay, fine, I'm cool, I'm fine.
Maltazard's penchant for exposition hasn't gone away, but Lou Reed's nasally voice doesn't really do it any favors.
Ah, what a pleasure to see you again, young Arthur.
The pleasure isn't mutual.
I know.
David Bowie's smooth, dastardly voice was a lot better, but hey, it's been 4 years since the first movie came out, so he either got bored with it, or they didn't offer him enough money, or they just couldn't afford him. What do you do? He explains he observed the humans' lives and decided he wanted to conquer that world because he had grown tired of his miniature size. Also, he seems to have gotten a crush on Daisy, Arthur's grandma. Okay, why am I even surprised? Arthur's grandma has got it going on. Thankfully, that attraction is only mentioned in passing, so not a big deal, but so help me, if this comes back in the third movie...
Right, I'll put it out of its misery. Get the spray.
There's a handful of OMGs from Arthur, and aside from the additional kiss at the end of the movie between Arthur and Selenia and that interest between Maltazard and Arthur's grandmother, no sex scenes. Praise be.
Thanks.
There's no real moral here since the movie's about adventure or revenge or something. As far as messages, tree hugging is cool, and trying to kill bees will get you sprayed in the face with pesticide, which will give you boils and thankfully not blind or kill you.
Drum roll, please. That's your drum roll.
On a scale of 1 to 5, 1 star once again. There's a total loss of common sense or ability to critically think. Arthur's insistence that the Minimoys are in danger, risking death by constriction to see his girlfriend, wife, princess, queen, instead of asking more questions, would have drastically shortened this movie, but would have made a lot more sense. Sure, he's 12 now, but he's going to boarding school. He should be able to think things through a bit more. Maybe everyone assumed Maltazard drowned, so that's why Arthur didn't expect him to be behind anything. Then again, if Maltazard was gone, who did Arthur think was threatening the Minimoys? Also, there's no real revenge or adventure. Unless you count Maltazard's interest or creeping on Arthur's grandma from a distance, or those action sequences, both revenge and adventure were largely absent. However, having trapped Arthur in the Minimoy world while Maltazard returned to Arthur's instead might count as revenge, but Arthur's also not terribly sad because he got his kiss from Selenia in the end, so until the reality of giant Maltazard sets in, I still argue Maltazard's revenge fully hasn't taken place yet. Lastly, the odd ending, setting up the sequel, which came out a year later. Explaining that odd ending a bit, Arthur's dad, Armand, tries to track down his boy like he's an animal, tempting him with a bag of marshmallows, promising him that Daddy's not mad. Upon thinking he's found his son, it turns out it's Maltazard hiding in the bushes, and he scares everything in nature by saying boo, which honestly sounds more like he's burping. After that, Maltazard laughs and the movie ends. Or does it? Nope, it shifts to an Adam West Batman-style ending in black and white. This snippet is from the third movie, promising that the next movie will be coming soon to a theater near you. And then the movie ends. Credits start rolling to a weird version of Poker Face, which sounds like it's being read, rapped very poorly by someone reading it, backed up by a children's choir. Who thought this was a good idea? Baby Shark sounds better compared to this.
Mama, mama. Maltazar. Oh yeah, this is my jam. Mama, mama. Maltazar. Mama, mama. Maltazar.
Overall, younger kids will probably enjoy this movie, assuming that most of the jokes go over their head, like Snoop Dogg explaining how his friend's wife is pregnant for the 20th time, but there are far worse movies that you show them, for sure. Until next time, bye-bye.
Don't touch me. Oh. Okay. This is the song that never ends. Oh yeah.